Well, the Bruins were in Toronto with a 3-2 series lead after failing to close them out at TD Garden in Game 5. So, Game 6 last night in Toronto. Once again, we were discussing just briefly as to who would get the start in net, and that was, in fact, Jeremy Swayman, as most of us predicted, and trying to go with Linus Ullmark at this point would seem to be an exercise in futility. On the other end of the ice, also making it a consecutive start, was Jonathan Wall. And last night, what's that? Oh, Joseph, excuse me. Jonathan Joseph, whatever.
They're all biblical, baby.
Well, you didn't really need to see him a whole lot. Here's a neat highlight for you.
High slot now, McAvoy twirls up top. Shoots, deflected, and Wall to stop as Pasternak got it to change directions.
I believe that is the second stop he made, and that was at the halfway point of the game.
Yes.
That was when the second shot went on goal for the Bruins about 9 minutes into the second period.
The Bruins
last night.
displayed a skill I didn't know they had last night. They attempted about 80,000 shots, and none of them got through to the goaltender.
Yes.
Toronto, they consistently were able to shoot into the bodies of their own people and the Toronto Maple Leafs standing in front of Joseph Wall. They were credited with one shot in the first 37 minutes. First 27 minutes of game time.
But
you realize how hard that is to do?
John, not against an elite defense and goaltender.
Right.
Which was the problem with Toronto all season, is that they have been elite.
Yes.
Their goaltending has been elite. Their defense has been elite.
Right.
The problem with the team was they had put too much into the defense.
Well,
that's not actually the problem. The problem was that they were supposed to be terrible on defense and have bad goaltending.
Which is why they have a new goaltender midway through the series.
And which is also why, their best player, again, didn't play. The talk a week ago was how they had to redo everything and get rid of everybody, and this is the exact same thing that happened last year.
They were going to blow up the roster 3 days ago. 3 days ago, Toronto was going to blow up the roster and start again next season.
What blows my mind is how they're able to get seemingly everybody in between the shooters and Wall last night. If you're Toronto, right? The defensemen are back, the forwards are back. They're clogging up passing lanes. They're clogging up the shooting lanes. But somehow they're still able to regroup, get the puck out of their own zone, and have plenty of chances on net against Swayman, who thankfully was good again last night.
Now Nylander shoots, blocked, gets it back with 5. Nylander to the dot, backhand. Swayman the save, the rebound. Swayman the stop. The rebound is available, and that's going to do it for the first period.
3 saves in a row because Swayman was on his game. How they have anybody to go into the offensive zone after they're all camped out in front of Wall, I don't know. They were skating with more purpose, more intensity. They were faster. They were getting to the puck, and they were getting the puck out. And once again, as Jaffe told us a couple of days ago, they were getting through the neutral zone without a lot of resistance from the Bruins.
And they started better again. Now, the Bruins played a little bit better last night than they did in Game 5, but once again, Maple Leafs come out, they're flying all over the place, and the Bruins seem puzzled as to how to answer any of this. Why can't the Bruins start on time? You'd think they'd learn their lesson from Game 5. Why can't the Bruins be the team that's all over the opposition at the beginning in an elimination game where they're leading? Why can't the Bruins put their foot on the other team's throat and step down? No, instead, they get punched in the face 3, 4, 5 times. Oh, we're in a playoff game. Sure, maybe we should start playing. And that didn't happen again last night. As a Bruins fan watching this game, I'm expecting them to be down 3, 4, 5-0. That's what it felt like.
Well,
again.
The game was scoreless until that magical time that I tried to tell you about. Last 2 minutes of the second period. Weird things happen. Guys are tired. You don't have the freshest of legs anymore. You don't have that end of game burst. You're at the end of the second period, and what happened?
Off the draw, pulled free by the Leafs. Right point Liljegren. Feed to the high slot, Nylander. Watched by Beecher. Nylander shoots, they score! And the Leafs turn it into a goal. That shot coming in from William Nylander. might have gotten deflected. It skids inside the near post, and the Leafs open up a late second period 1-0 lead here in Game 6.
And that is pretty much all they would do.
And you know how the Bruins responded? That happened in the final minute of the second period. At first period, you know how the Bruins responded in the second period? By disappearing for 7 minutes. The first 7 minutes of the second period were like the first 7 minutes of the first period in Game 5. They were nowhere to be found after falling behind 1-0. You figure, okay, it's Game 6 now, boys. It's time for us to respond. We're down 1-0. We're fortunate to be only down 1-0. Now's the time where we need to play. They were non-existent in the first 7 minutes of the second period. What is Jim Montgomery telling these guys between periods and before games? Whatever it is, it's really bad. It's putting them to sleep. This guy needs to be fired if they lose tomorrow night. Or should I say when they lose tomorrow night?
Well, I think he'll be fired if they lose tomorrow night, they will.
He seems completely mystified why his team isn't responding. Isn't that your job to find out? Isn't that your job to correct it?
And some of it, too, is, their most skilled players. Now, Marchand, I think he's doing about as much as he can do. Pasternak, not good. Not good in this game. And a couple of times when he did have looks at the net, his shots were going 3 feet wide of the net. It's off. And if you can't get it done by finding some ways to shoot, then you need to get down and dirty, and you need to really fight for those rebounds. But in order to, I'm talking about rebounds that are going off of defenders and off of sticks and skates of guys in front of the goalie. You're not even gobbling up loose pucks in front of the goalie because they're not making it that far to begin with.
That's how Nylander scored. It went off of McAvoy. I mean, I don't understand if Toronto supposedly has this weak defense and that you can't even get anything going. Like, forget about Wall. Like, you couldn't get anything to him, as John said, and I don't understand why there wasn't, how that's possible.
I guess in the strictest sense of the word, Fred, the defense of Toronto's defense isn't great when it comes to allowing the puck into the zone. But once the Bruins have the puck down there, they couldn't do anything with it. Now, in the third, they started setting up the offense a little bit, and as Jack Edwards said last night a couple of times, incrementally getting better, and they were trying to find some rhythm. And they could get the puck down there, but once it was there, they would just do this pack in front of Wall, and there were no shots to be had, and they would have possession in the Toronto end for 5 seconds or so, and that was it.
How many you were getting back to Pasternak, how many wild shots that were 2-3 feet wide of the net did we see from him last night? He is desperate in a bad way.
Yes.
He's not playing desperate hockey. He's just desperate to get the puck towards the net because he's been so frustrated in this series. He's taking blind turnaround, spin around shots from the blue line that are nowhere close to Joseph Wall. I mean, it would be nice if you hit the goaltender and maybe there's a rebound to pounce on. He can't even get the puck at the net.
And again, they were too cute. I mean, they weren't putting pucks on net. They were getting too cute. Toronto was clogging up the middle, and the Bruins were trying to pass through that. It was very frustrating.
Toronto is without their best player. The best goal scorer of the last 5 years is not playing for them. And even when he wasn't playing well.
And he's not supposed to be playing in Game 7.
And they're better than you, and easily better than you. The scores may have been close, but that's only because Jeremy Swayman has been fantastic. This team has been better than you by a factor of 50%.
And that's
the last 2 games.
And that's what's sad is that this season was just like, all right, whatever. Like, I mean, this regular season, we were all just like, whatever. Everyone at the station was. We didn't follow the Bruins as closely on this station with everyday talk as we usually do, because it was, I think that the whole fan base is like, all right, we'll see. Then, they do better than expected in the regular season. Great. Let's see what happens. They play Toronto. They get up 3-1. Here we go. Let's get talk. Talk. And then here we are again. This is exactly what everyone was afraid of. This is what we were all afraid of. I don't think there was one fan that truly follows the team that wasn't all season, in the off season, during the season, at the end of the season, wasn't afraid this was what was going to happen. This exact same thing. And there's literally no reason. And I bet you, I would love to find someone who really thinks, doesn't convince themselves, but really thinks if you put them on a lie detector that the Bruins are going to win Game 7 at home. Because there's no evidence.
Yeah, I never do. I put up a poll on Twitter last night to find out if I was the only one that was feeling this way, and I'm glad you said this because I have zero confidence they can win at home tomorrow night. Over 70% I got like 1,700 votes. Over 70% think that the Bruins are going to lose.
Yeah, I don't know how you could be a fan of this team and go like, I feel really good about going in to this game. And then bet your car on it. Then bet your car on them straight up. If you can send me a ticket and you're not super rich that you bet $30,000 on the game, then I'll believe you.
And now it seems like so obvious, even against a team that doesn't have, its goaltending set up, and they're not even that good defensively. How is it that the Bruins in this position are forced to go to a Game 7 against a much lower-seeded team? You want to know why? You take away that 14-4 record that they had to start the regular season, and they're pretty much a 500 hockey team. They're just average.
In some ways, this season, when they lose tomorrow night, is going to be worse than last season because at least their opponent last season was the defending president. But Florida was a good team that had an off year. Toronto, who has won one playoff series in 20 years and has a history of choking, is about to come back and beat you in 7 games.
They were going to win the cup last year.
But at the same time, you have guys that have memory of that from last year.
So, I thought they could have won the cup last year. This year is worse because it's the exact same thing. I agree with John because it's the exact same thing as last year. Like, it's too much.
You had a lot of the same guys who went through it last year who should know better going through it this year, and Toronto has a history of choking. No. They've won one playoff series in 2 decades, and they're going to come back from 3-1 down and beat you.
If you like that clip, check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. For more Bruins analysis and opinion, hit this playlist.